All right. We're back again. Judd'z Budz, episode 120. 127? 126. That's what I said.
Right.
The Wayne Gretzky
line.
The Wayne Gretzky plus Prince George Cougar Riley Height episode. As always, your host, Spokesy, joined by my good buddy, Mr. At State of Hoppy, and the same other assholes that have been here for the last 2 weeks. Continuing on with our prospect rankings, we're moving on to 15 through 11. I think that's the math.
That is.
Let's skip all the other bullshit. We're not gonna. This is gonna be a subscribe to our what's the not PayPal, what's the thing? Oh my god. I almost said OnlyFans to find out which of the three kids is Baki's favorite. That was I don't want to throw.
Okay, we're starting a Patreon right now.
Patreon.
Paywall. All the money goes to fund Baki's children.
Subscribe to the Patreon to find out which kid Baki likes the most. Because that was, he told us. Anyway, number 11. No, 15. Fuck.
It was all three kids.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was not.
Yeah, just like Dean Evison loved every player the same. All right. Well, yes, anyone that's just tuning in for the first time through this ordeal, go back and listen. We did, let's see, what would it have been? 16 through 20, which I'm looking at right now, so I'm an idiot. And 21 through 25, the last couple of weeks. But recap from last week, we got 16 through 20. We had 16, Charlie Stramel, 17, Jack Peart, 18, Ryan Healey, 19, Kyle Masters, and 20, Sebastian Suweni, with just the most electric, drugged out logo we've ever seen. Go back and listen.
Zeke, hit us with it again.
Oh God.
Yeah.
No.
That's pretty good.
That's so good.
Oh my God, that was awesome.
No jokes. I'm saving that on my soundboard.
Oh, no.
And I'm gonna send it to Hoppy as well. And whenever that player and or jersey gets brought up, I expect that to be played Hoppy on every single Judd'z Budz episode.
I feel like we just have to start calling him the Shroom Cat now. Like that's his nickname.
Shroom Cat.
Oh,
so what's the latest on Shroom Cat? And then Isha hits the drop, and then we talk about Spacek and Sweeney.
Oh, it's so good.
It's a great
so
bit.
good.
It's going to be a great bit.
Oh my God.
But today we're here to talk 11 through 15 of Judd'z Budz. That's right, full Minnesota Wild prospect pool. Sota Pod, Sound the Foghorn collab. Here we go. 15 to lead us off. David Spacek. Don't know who wants to lead off here.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of a guy. I don't know. I've always been kind of surprised with the way that Russo the team seems to be very high on him. I know I was listening to Hoppy and Spoke the other day. They were talking how a lot of the team seems to have him above a guy like Lambos now for whatever reason. I think is he a right shot? I think. Is that
Yep.
matter? Okay, so I know
That is
right
probably the
shot.
only reason why, to be honest.
That seems to be.
Russo knows his dad too, so.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah, that
Well,
makes sense.
a lot of people know Yaroslav Spacek.
That makes sense.
At least know of him.
No, just Russo. It's only him.
But I mean, I know he had a good big World Juniors the other couple, maybe last year, the year before. I think so, but
Well, yeah, last year he torched at the
I know he was really good there.
6 jerseys, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Of that like stupid template that they're forced to use, Czechia's are definitely like top 3. And then of course Sweden's are right there because Sweden is stubborn in the best way where they refuse to make their great jerseys look bad. But
Yeah, I'm supporting that.
Yep. I don't know. I've never been high on him. Oh wow! A defenseman from the Q puts up numbers. Oh wow, amazing! Like I've never been high on him. And you can see if you're watching on YouTube, I'm definitely the lowest as far as my ranking on him. I don't know. Had an okay run in Iowa. I at least was able to get back up from playing a little bit or Iowa Wild. Anyways, was able to get back up with the bigger club then. Upon playing a little bit for the Heartlanders, but I don't know. I don't see this guy ever playing in the National Hockey League. I think he'll be an AHL player forever.
I think he definitely got a little bit of the Russo boost in my ranking. One thing we always said on the Foghorn, where when Russo says stuff, there's always fire with his smoke. And if it's coming through him in some way or another that the Wild think highly of him, it feels foolish for me to have him lower than, because I have a really like this tier with like, honestly, I kind of view Peart, Masters, Spacek, and Healey, like all four of those guys for different reasons, but a lot of four of those guys are kind of all in the same area for me.
God, I think Peart's so much better than him.
Dude, Russo's a big cigar guy. How has he not gotten like a cigar sponsorship in the lines of there's fire where there's smoke?
Yeah. Yeah. But on top of that too, I think it's easy to look at, the year he had in Iowa and be like, yeah, it was a pretty bad year. But as we've talked about before, like it was a bad year for that whole blue line, because they said, what if we just played 5 first-year defensemen in pro hockey and see if that works? And it didn't, shockingly. But I think if you look at, yes, it was in the QMJHL, but like he played well with good teams when he's been in the World Junior spotlight. Like this guy in the year after the Wild draft him was a point per game international and has 13 points so far this year in 24 international games. Like he seems to shine when his teammates are better, when the competition is better. I just think there's a lot of runway for him to continue to get better. And I think, again, that right shot premium that the Wild kind of lack in their prospect pool. I think if there's a right shot D opening on the third pairing in the next 2-3 years, I think he's the guy that they want there. But he's the one that has to get there.
He'll be a world championship stud, guys. That's about it.
Yeah, after what Isha said, I guess I wasn't expecting to be the one that have to, bounce back with like the positive side of this, because like I absolutely think he has a NHL projectable skill set. While I do view him as a guy that, like Brett, you said, had the Russo bump. The fact is, the last 2 World Juniors that he's played in, he's been voted as a top 3 player on Czechia.
Also, is that voting flawed, Z? Like,
last year I lost my mind. Yeah. Well, I was going to bring that up. So he is just an interesting player where it's like he's a 6-foot right shot D man where he's decent as far as his mobility goes. There's games the last 3 years, whether it was in the Q or the A, where like defensively he looked really good, made the right decisions, like close gaps, all that. And then there are games where you're just wondering, why is he at the red line when like the play is in his own end? Like just super unpredictable, a bit of a wild card, but very, very solid offensively once you get into the offensive zone. Like I put him and Masters back to back because when I look at their game, I look at Spacek as a guy where teams are like, oh yeah, that's the profile of player that's going to put up decent offensive numbers. Maybe he's not going to be great defensively. Versus a guy like Kyle Masters, who I think teams look as like, he's 5'11". Next.
Then they're like, David Spacek, 6 feet. Now I'm interested. I'm listening.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. But Masters has always played the more projectable game in terms of the transition. Again, Spacek just so up and down, like so wildly inconsistent.
Just streaky, yeah.
Drafted his draft year. They took him as an overager, which as an overager, where they took him, I like to pick. And I guess I'm going to have to be the guy that like claps back with like, I went down to the ECHL. I can't believe I have to do this. Like Masters played way more ECHL hockey than Spacek did. I only say that. I really was hoping to hide that fact. But I had to after the fucking scathing review from.
He looked good in the World Juniors this last year. I'll give him that. But like, I don't know. I just don't. I don't see
anything Isha says on WHL or QMJ. Both are ridiculous.
The Q sucks. Oh, first.
There it is.
All right, you're back. You're back.
We finally got the Z internet blip. It wouldn't be a real recording if we didn't get one.
Pretty good though that it went almost 2 hours without it. So I think I see David Spacek as a guy that definitely the Minnesota Wild, but even more so like NHL teams are going to look at and say, we like this guy and we'll give him more of a chance than a guy like Kyle Masters, despite the fact I think Masters plays a more projectable game in general. Because I think Masters gives you like the transition, the defensive side of the puck. Like there is some offensive upside that if you give him the runway, there's more there. It's like 5v5 versus a guy like Spacek where it's like he hits or he doesn't. That's it. And they took him as an overager again. He runs a really good power play, looked really good for the power play. International hockey, as a lot of the Europeans do, like they look real fucking good when they play with other guys that are as good as they are. You can't lean on him. He can't be one of your go-to guys, but as like a second power play option, he's got some NHL upside for sure. And I've seen enough defensively over the last like 3-4 years that I think he can absolutely become a full-time NHL player. I think the runway is longer than maybe the Wild projected to be because it's still pretty inconsistent. But still a legit player, still has NHL upside. And again, I do think ultimately like teams are going to look, and also the fact that he's a spot check, like that's going to help. When you have NHL lineage, like that helps, obviously. So I think he's going to be a guy that like teams look at, specifically the Wild for sure. They're going to look at that more favorably than a kid that they have to invest like 4, 5, 6 years in before they play. But all around games, big question mark. The offensive upside's there. I think he can become a full-time NHL player. It's just whether or not he takes that like the steps defensively to round out the all-around game, whether or not he actually does get there. So I still look at it like the same way, honestly. That's why I put him and Masters back to back.
Yeah, I'm the same. You could easily flip those two for me, and I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Nice. I'm disappointed that none of you caught my Easter egg here because there weren't many usable high-quality images when I searched David Spacek.
I was like, that doesn't say Spacek.
Yeah, that is definitely Eurocheck, but it showed up as one of the first options searching David Spacek. Like, I got to get this jersey in, so we're doing it.
I thought he looked. I thought he looked different, but I was just like, oh, it's probably just because I haven't seen his face enough.
I was just looking at the flex and the stick in that picture.
I know, it's impressive. It's like, no, there's no way Spacek's doing that. All right, well, as you all heard Z say verbatim, we have former overager David Spacek at number 15. I'm sorry, Z. All right, number 14 as we move this along. We have Aron Kiviharju. Kivy, how are you?
How are you?
Yeah, that hurt.
First off, his confidence as an all-time level, walking up to Billy G at the draft and saying what he said.
Yeah, to say what he said. I don't know. I want to ask him if we ever get him on the podcast. I got to know, like, did you immediately say, like, I'm going to go find him and say this, or did you happen across him and be like, all right, fuck it, I'm doing it? Like, I need to know how pre-orchestrated that was versus, like, he found him, he's like, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
God. We're pretty balanced here. 13, 15.
Yeah.
We all love him.
So, and honestly, I would rank him higher if not for I just want to see him play a full season off of injury, right?
That's exactly where I'm at too. Yeah.
I treated him and Ryder Ritchie the exact same in that sense. Like both of them could easily be in my top 10 come this winter when we circle back on this for mid-season review. But Yeah, I imagine we're all pretty similar spots with this. I don't know who wants to take it.
I mean, I'll say he's a smart player, good a breakout wizard. He can run the power play. I think he was one of Finland's best players in the world championships when he played, whatever it was. He's
U18s, he dominated.
U18s, that's what, yeah. Kind of brings that leadership quality. He's been an assistant captain or captain with a lot of teams, and just kind of like one of those like mid-round, later-round guys that could make a big impact, come in. And like you said, I'd like to see what he can do off of injury, but definitely an intriguing pick with the skill set he brings.
Yeah, I think a guy in like a slightly similar boat to Charlie Strayman way, where it's like, he's had some injury trouble, been injured off and on, and now is really looking out with a chip on his shoulder this coming season to like go out and prove like, hey, I was a first round talent, supposedly when the season started, and by the time the draft rolled around, I slipped to the 4th round. Like, and then to like, as you guys teased kind of at the beginning of talking about him, like going up to the GM and just saying, you just got the biggest steal of the draft. Like, there's something about kind of that swagger and that confidence that you have to like in a young kid. Like, he's determined to go out and show what he can do, put in the work. So I think, attributes like that make you a little bit excited.
I am close to ordaining him a son. Like the way Z talked about him the first time we got into Aron Kiviharju, like on the way too early draft talk
2 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. Man,
TPS is such a good organization too.
Well, he profiles to basically be a better Kalen Addison, so I'm all in on this. I thought he'd be like a 2nd or 3rd rounder. When he fell to the 4th and the Wild got him, I was beside myself. It was fun.
No, well, and until he played the last 2 years with he played TPS from like 16 to 15 to 17, which is like such a they're one of the better organizations in Liga as well, especially developing their young guys as well. I know Sammy Salo works with even the younger guys outside of the pro team on the defensive side of stuff, and the fact that he from 15 to 17 was with them before he joined HIFK now, but I absolutely love this guy. I've been watching him for a little while as well. I mean, honestly, since Z brought 2 years ago when Z brought him up, I was like, all right, let's check him out. And then I was like, oh, he's TPS, and I was like, oh my god. Started watching U18s, and I was like, holy fuck yeah, this guy's he's good everywhere. I just want to see a full season. I want to see a full season in Liga. I want to see him with more minutes, and I want to see some of that swagger like personified this year. And I think we're all confident in saying that we expect him to be that guy.
Yeah. I can't remember which player we talked about last time we did this, but I think it might have been. We'll get to when we talk about him. The kid from Denver, whose name I'm totally blanking on at the moment.
Yes.
Rieger.
Yeah, Lorenz.
Yeah.
I think we kind of talked about him last year. Like, this is the guy that we feel definitely should be higher and probably will shoot up the next time we do that. And spoiler alert, he obviously hasn't been mentioned before 14, so he's jumped up the board quite a bit. But I get kind of the same feelings here with Kiviharju that if when we do this again, he could easily be inside the top 10.
I think Rieger's more like a Stramel though, whereas Kiviharju, if the injury wasn't a thing, I don't think any of us would be hesitating. Granted, I don't think the Wild would have gotten him. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that's very fair. Anyone else want to touch on Aaron with 1A? Fuck you, Aaron Rodgers. Kiviharju.
Yeah, just real quick. Not only was he, before he got hurt, a year and a half ago, he was a guy that all of us would have been watching him for 2 years at that point. He was a guy that was in the running for first overall. That was the ceiling at one point for a kid like Aron Kiviharju. I think it was last year at the Holinka as a draft -1. He was one of the top 5 players that tournament. Absolutely Finland's best player. Ran their power play and was scoring at 5v5. Made the move to IFK from TPS. And only got to play 7 games, even though 7 games, very hit or miss. And then he got hurt and didn't play again. So he literally played 7 club hockey games this year. At the U18s, there were a lot of shifts where it's there it is. That's the Kiviharju that was projected to be first overall. And then you saw a lot of the blemishes. There's the guy that's a 5'9" left shot D-man who is very much predicated on offense. That's his game. There's the concern right there. So I think still, though, coming into the draft, anyone that's been watching this kid's like, he can't go later than 2, but like the first round's going to be, that might be a pretty big, like you're swinging for upside there, but he probably doesn't make it out of the second round. And once he got to the 4th, me and Hoppy were live streaming, and we were like, is he, dude, Kiviharju still there? They had, it was the 4th round. They had 2 picks, and they didn't take it with their first 4th round pick. And then we're like, holy fuck, like he's still there for their second one. They took him. So in terms of like a 4th round pick, that's a joke. His upside is crazy. He's also a guy that has a super low floor just with the profile of player. So talent wise, home run 4th round pick. If it doesn't even work out, like you can't really get mad about a kid that doesn't play if you like took him in the 4th round. But
one of your 2 4th rounds, yeah.
It is very seldom you have a kid that's taken the 4th round with this kind of upside. His track record is absurd. And so he got drafted in the 2nd round this year by Moncton in the Q. I actually have gone back and forth between wondering if he would be better off playing in Liga this year on a decent IFK team versus playing in the Q, playing North America, and just like missed all of last year. When he played, very hit or miss. Is it better to just get acclimated to North American hockey? The Q is very different. His profile player, that's where it's like, okay, what is the risk reward there? Like the thing in Finland is like a guy like that doesn't really tend to pop. Like it's a very defensive league, not high scoring whatsoever. So I went back and forth on like, is he better off going over there and like trying to play top 4 minutes in Finnish Liga, or coming to the Q and playing like 30 minutes a night and being probably their best defenseman within 2 weeks of the season starting? He's going to go to Liga. He's playing in Finland. Playing for hockey's great. I think it's a win-win.
Just smirking, just waiting for Ethan to freak the fuck out.
I can see it.
It's like I think we should weigh in to see if Isha thinks he should play in the Q.
Yeah, there's only one right answer here, and it's to not go to the Q.
I'm happy that he's going to be playing pro hockey. Again, the big thing is with how much time he missed last year, I almost wondered if junior hockey to get back into it is the way to go, because it's not like he's going to play 1 year and then be like NHL ready. Like you look at a kid that we will be talking about soon here, Rasmus Kumpulainen, also from Finland, played great in the O this year, going back to Liga this upcoming season. And Kiviharju is not a guy, again, he's not going to play and then 1 year after getting drafted and then stepping into the NHL. So for me, it wouldn't have been a bad thing if he wanted to go play in the Q, play a full year where he is the guy on their back end. And even if he wanted to go play pro hockey again in Finland for another year, that's fine. Like I would have been fine with that too. So if he took like the Kumpulainen route, I would have been like, yeah, whatever. Wouldn't have been a big deal to me. I think it's fine either way. So the fact, as long as he, and given his attitude, I think it's very likely that he will not have a problem bouncing back from injury and like stepping into the lineup, because he does not suffer from like a lack of confidence. But that was just a question I keep going. I've always gone back and forth on, like once he got drafted by Moncton. So, Isha, I'll let you shit yourself, but that's just
I mean, when you put it like that, like, yeah, one confidence booster year, sure, but like maybe some of the defensive stuff that he needs to polish, even just to get to like a baseline where it's like, yeah, he's not going to be the defensive guy that you lean on. Like, he ain't going to learn that in the Q, right? They're just going to let him run wild. So I don't know, from a confidence point of view, like, sure, but like I think him in Liga will do him better, because then when he comes to North America and even plays in, like, say he comes over to AHL or whatever, or even right into the Wild, then like I don't know, then he'll be able to like do his thing, and they'll put him in a situation where it's like, okay, we're not gonna like expect you to be like a shutdown guy or anything like that. Like, do your fucking thing, and if you can't do it at this level, then all right, we have our answer. But like Liga at least will help polish and, you know, develop a little bit of those defensive woes. Whereas if he goes to the Q, it's not gonna matter. Like he's just gonna, like you said, put up like 60 to 70 points and not give a shit about defense at all.
Yeah, I mean, again, so the big thing that was I went back and forth on is like, all right, I think in my head, I'd rather have him play 25 minutes a night in the queue versus like go to Liga, all the confidence in the world, first 5-6 games, he's getting 10 minutes. And it's like, also those 10 minutes, not going to be any offense, not going to be any power play time. Going to be like basically third pair, getting absolutely crushed in the forecheck in that league. Like, what's that going to do to the confidence? Again, he is the type of kid, I don't really worry that much about the confidence side of things. Like, but that was where I was going back and forth. Like, well, like he could go into Finland this year playing in Liga, all the comps in the world, training camp could happen, might not go great, or it could go well. And still first 5-10 games, he's playing 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, third pair. I don't really know how much that does for him. Like I look at a kid like Suwini this past year, this draft season, definitely shouldn't have been playing pro hockey. That's where I go back and forth. So I still think either way, he is that good. Like he is another level of Suwini. So that where that conversation is like, all right, well, that's not the same thing. That's just like black and white. That was where I was bouncing back and forth on. But
I wish it was the O or WHL that drafted him, not the fucking Q, because then it would be an easier answer.
Yeah, there you go. The dub, baby. He did get drafted by Kitchener in 2023. So
no, Kitchener fucked up. Not bringing him in.
But either way, the upside is not in question. He is fucking legit. My God, can this kid play? He is so fun to watch when he is healthy and feeling himself. Like he's a fucking beast. So definitely one to watch this year for sure. Again, another Finnish kid I get to watch more of.
Yeah, the amount of time we just spent on him, people are like, holy fuck, he's 14. Okay.
Years old? Buckle up.
Again, everyone, the biggest steal of the draft this year. Number 13. Z already spoiled it. So, Z, why don't you tell everyone who number 13 is?
Yeah, Kumpulainen. There you go. Great pick. My God, what a pick.
The franchise all-name team, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah. Again, at the time when they drafted him, I was like, I love their draft class. Weirdly, Kumpulainen might be my sneaky favorite pick of all these guys. He is an enigma. He's like 6'4", 6'5", does not move quickly whatsoever. That being said, one of the best transition players we've tracked in the CHL, like ever.
He's so good.
That massive frame and the slow foot speed does not hinder his ability to transport the puck from his own end into the offensive zone. And like you can't take the puck off of him. He's got
like massive strides though. That's why it's like when he skates, he just like takes up so much space and he moves so he may not move quickly forward, but
the thing with him is it's like the skating, it's so tough to judge because it's like the speed, nope, that's not in his wheelhouse, but like agility and his ability to move, like the lateral movement and his ability to just shift with and without the puck is unfucking believable. And he's one of those kids that like forever, you always have to be careful when a guy that's like playing U16 and he is 5 inches taller than everybody on the ice. When they dominate, you have to be like, all right, well, let's, I wonder why. But like when he went up and played, like not pro hockey in Finland, but played up 2 age groups a couple of years ago, he was not just good because of his size. He knew how to use the size. Like that's 2 very different things where it's like, there's some guys that are that big, but you just strip the puck off. They have no idea how to position themselves. They're terrible along the wall, but he is unbelievably good at it. And he also leverages it well in transition, in motion. And he's got some insane hands. Like the skill that this kid possesses is a joke. And he made people look stupid in the OHL this year. And he was such a versatile player for them too, where like elite 2-way play. And even when he wasn't leaned on for offense, like he is making everyone's lives easier in the offensive zone where he's just hanging on to pucks. You can't get off of him. You can't get it off him. Played a lot with a kid like Beckett Seneke, who went 3rd overall. But like every area of the game, he's effective. And I kind of love that he's going from the O to play in Liga next year because he was like, it's my dream to play for Pelicans. They're my favorite team growing up. This is my one opportunity to go do it. So now he's going to go get a chance to go play pro hockey, and he might be close to being ready after that.
For 2 years, right?
Yeah, I think he did sign a 2-year deal, I guess. I think about it.
I love this move. I'm so excited.
But like, I mean, to your point, though, Z, with using his body the right way, I mean, just look at his jersey number for Oshawa. It says it all.
Yeah.
He's baby.
Well, like,
basically, he's Jaromir Jagr, all right? Like, it's the same.
He's the player
out in jean jacket.
He's the player I had the hardest ranking. I think at one point I had him at 10 when I was doing this, and I just slowly bumped him around. And I think ultimately what it came down to is just where his ceiling was compared to some of the players in front of him. But that's not to say he doesn't have a ceiling. Like, I think if everything continues on the path that he's on, he is going to be the absolute perfect type of player you want to play in your bottom six. Probably like your fourth line center. Like, I think that would be such a great spot for him. Someone that's mobile, someone that's big, someone that's physical, but can also chip in some offense when you need it. Like, and he had a great year last year. And I'm really excited to see how the transition to pro hockey goes for him playing for the Pelicans. But I think like if like the next step we want to see from Charlie Stramel to me is what we're seeing right now from Kumpulainen. Like, it's that big physical play, bringing the offense, being a player that can be leaned on, being a player that can play with other skilled players. Like, I'm really excited to see what this season holds for him.
Dude, and like, projecting that he does make the NHL and all the boxes are checked and everything like that. Like, he's going to be a nightmare matchup for if they put him up against like top lines or like second lines, right? Because he does have that skill and he does have that hockey IQ where it's like, yeah, maybe he has some more scrubs than just physical players as his line mates. But if he's the one like actually driving the play, whether it's head to head against bottom six lines in the National Hockey League, or if he's playing against some of the better players, like he's going to be right there where he's, I've been playing against you guys my whole development, right? I've been playing against skilled guys in the O. I've been playing against skilled guys and, hard-nosed guys in Liga. So I love this prospect so much for the Wild, and I hope all works out in Liga. And I feel like he's the perfect type of player to play Finnish hockey, so he should fit the mold there for sure.
Yeah, and speaking to your point about like being that big guy that guys suck to play against, I know we give him a lot of shit in Minnesota, but I think it's because we expected the wrong things out of him. Like, Jordan Greenway was that guy for the Wild. Like, that guy was 6'6". His defensive shutdown ability, like as a forward, was really, really good. Like, if you can get to that type, or you can be that just big, annoying body to play against, there's a role to be carved out there for sure.
I mean, he also turned into Riley Height, so I love him.
Yeah, that's great.
He was one of my favorite players to track this year. I mean, just the size, his two-way ability, his hands, and then he looked like a man amongst boys a lot of nights, just the way he played. Another thing to mention about his hands, I feel like a lot of nights he won a ton of face-offs, like 75% or more in a lot of games. And just
hammering home that ideal fourth line center, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that Florida had? Stenlund? Isn't he a giant too?
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he does in Liga. I think he's playing for his hometown team, is it not? Isn't he playing on the team that like the city he's born in? But
Pelicans, baby.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch him play some pro hockey.
I'm gonna try to pull it up to see if I can pull it up quickly, anyways. But his 5-on-5 possession numbers in the O this year were legitimately comical. Like, when he was on the ice, it was just like they basically weren't at all. They were never like in their own end, and like he had the puck the whole fucking time. Like, he is very fun to watch. Again, just an absolute enigma where it's like this guy is moving 2 miles an hour up the ice, and no one is doing anything about it.
The definition of work smarter, not harder, baby.
Yeah.
It was like, what are we gonna do about it? You want me to go take the puck off that guy? Fuck yeah, I'll just hang out here.
That was always kind of what. Yeah, I know, like they play different positions, but like that's kind of how I always felt watching Ryan Suter in his prime. Like, that guy never looked like he was skating fast, but he closed every gap. Like, stick was always in the right spot. It's like, how? Like, you don't skate well, but you're always like breaking things up.
We just lost so many subscribers because you said nice things about Suter.
I said prime Suter. This was before all the bullshit.
Because Shea Weber taught him well. That's why, Brett.
It could be.
Get off it.
Should have taught him how to take a slap shot from the point, though.
Hoppy doesn't like Shea Weber. I don't know why. But anyways.
No, I don't like your obsession with him.
One of my favorite defensemen of all time, baby. How many gold medals did he win for Canada? Quite a few. 2, I think.
Oh, quite a few. Quite a few. Actually, not even a few. So
A couple.
nice stated, Isha. Z, did you get those numbers, or are we moving on?
I have to. Yeah, no. The website that we have access to, they go game by game. I can't pull up the expected goals or like the on ice. I'd have to do the math myself for 70.
Yeah, well, math isn't.
All right, hang on. We're already 2 hours in. You know, what's another 2 hours for one guy? That's number 13 on our list. Hold on.
All right, that was number 13, Jaromir Kumpulainen.
Jaromir.
Number 12.
By the way, is playing another season. Just
he will
saying.
play forever.
He's the Frank Gore of
He's
pro
training.
hockey.
He's training with Pasta in the offseason right now, and apparently keeping up with his training regimen. So what an absolute!
Do you mean Pasta's keeping up with Jager's training?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Dude, Jager said he's dropped 25 pounds and he hasn't lost a lick of muscle. This guy's an absolute savage.
Wait, last thing though.
Final.
We talked about the fact that in that speech, Jager was like, "Yeah, my girlfriend wasn't old enough to see me in my like." That was
oh my god,
fucking insane.
I literally forgot about that.
Oh my god. But by the way, actually,
everyone did a collective "oh fuck" when he said that.
Oh,
He's
man.
the coolest guy in the world. He really is.
He doesn't give a fuck.
He really is.
He is. Yeah.
God damn it. All right. Moving on to number 12 in the prospect pool. Caedan Bankier. I feel like this is one of the guys that the group collectively has a lot to say about. We're all pretty locked in consensus, though. Everyone's between 12 and 14 for their ranks.
Can we just start by saying he's the textbook nice Canadian?
Yeah. Yeah, I think for him, it's just like, one, he's an easy guy to cheer for, right? Like, he's worked his ass off, like, played for bad teams, worked his, like, and then when the Blazers got good, he was a guy that they leaned on, like, worked to round out his game so he could make the World Junior team. And, like,
another bad team that he played for.
Yeah. And then, like, you look at this year, just like it was, we talked so much today about how rough a year was for Iowa. Like, Caedan Bankier to me was a guy who consistently throughout the year actually felt like he got better as the season went on. Like, it felt like you actually saw growth despite Iowa being such a shit team. I love the work ethic he puts in. I think he's a kid that you want to root for. And, you know, kind of in that Mikey Milne road or that Connor Dewar mold, like if he profiles as that speedy bottom six energy, kind of do it all type of bottom six guy, I think that's a great spot for him. And I think he's got a legit shot to get there.
Well, he's super skilled too, right? Like he can shoot the fucking puck. Like he's scored goals at every level and every year pretty much.
I mean, he kept up with the stank, and you know that's not easy to do either. Down forward, so
he must have been shooting pucks with Adam Beckman in his driveway.
Yeah.
But no, I love Bankier. I feel like every level he plays at, he just works his, like Brett said, works his ass off, carves out a role. Whatever your role you want to put him in, he'll use it and make a team. Like he made the World Junior team. He just takes a role and plays well in it, whatever role you throw him in. Kamloops, he was like first line at the end of his WHL career, and we saw how he did in the World Juniors, just making that team. And I just love Bankier just for that work ethic alone. But we saw him, like you said, Brett, play pretty well in the AHL last year too.
Yeah, he feels like a type of player that Dean Evison would love coaching, and I mean that like as a compliment.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Was he fourth or fifth in scoring for Iowa? I know they didn't score a lot of goals last year with 13, but still, like it counts for something when no one was scoring and he was one of the few as a first-year AHLer.
Is it a travesty that we have him ranked lower than Riley Height when he's played for a Team Canada World Junior team?
That wasn't Riley Height's fault, all right? Like, I don't know what fucking the general managers for Team Canada.
He's not projected to be on the team this coming year either, so.
No, it's because he will be playing pro, and Billy Guerin won't release him. That's why.
Yes, that's why. That's definitely why.
That's definitely why.
Yeah, fourth on the team behind Beckman, Fogarty, and Walker. But He had one less goal than Walker, despite playing 19 fewer games than him, and 5 fewer than Fogarty, and had 18 fewer games than him.
Still, though, first year, it's still,
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So, like, if you go, like, goals per game, he was second highest on the team. So.
All right.
Love it.
All right. That was number 12, Caedan Bankier, taking us to the final one for this installment, number 11 of Judd'z Budz.
Yager.
Ryder Ritchie, which I got to say, I'm shocked because this was a guy that Z had pegged as a first-round talent this year. Again, somehow managed to fall to us, but he is only tied for the third highest on him. So I'm going to let Zeke take it away because I know he hasn't chimed in a ton yet. Zeke, you are the highest on Ryder Ritchie. What do you like about this guy?
Well, I guess, I can't say I've watched him too much, but I think, from reading up on him after the draft, seems to be a pretty good skater, a good playmaker. I know was on the young side for the draft too. I think he just turned 18 like a few days ago. So that, there's really just a lot of kind of room for him to continue growing and see how he does the next year or two in the WHL. And I mean, I remember too, the funny thing about this is after they picked him, and the replies were a bunch of people going, "Oh, wild picking another tiny guy who's 5'10", 170." It's like, well, he's a 17-year-old kid, crying out loud.
And according to Elite Prospects, he's 6'1". So
wow, oh, he is. Oh shit, I thought he was like, yeah. So
he's just skinny because he's still a kid.
176.
Okay. So yeah, no, not too bad. But I think just for me, the fact that just that skill and the fact that he was a potential first round pick at the beginning of the year with just, a lot of room to grow still, I think just kind of it's pretty interesting to me, and be fun to see how he kind of does this year if he can, assuming he's is healthy and on the ice for the whole year.
Sure. And Baki, you were second highest on him. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, a good playmaking winger. Won WHL Rookie of the Year 2 years ago and was putting up similar points as Berkeley Catan.
He was third in scoring on that shit Raiders team. Like,
yeah,
as 16,
really
17. Like,
Wait,
holy
is
crap.
it Catan or Catton?
Cat, I don't know.
I think you're confusing it with the board game that everyone likes, but it actually sucks.
Okay, stop it, Hoppy. It's a great game.
I know he put up
settle
decent
down,
points.
Isha.
I know his team was a first round exit last year. He put up decent points, got injured. Amy started off strong, got injured, but I think we could see a possible 90-point player in the future here in the WHL. I'm just pretty high on him. He was a good second round pick.
Yeah, he was like, I think after the first round of the draft, like a couple people who, because they know I'm obsessed with the Wild, were like, hey, who should they take in like the second round? Like, which players do you have your eyes on? And it's like, I'll be honest, I haven't done a whole lot of research, but if they found a way to get like Ryder Ritchie and Aron Kiviharju, I'd be pretty happy. Like one of those guys. And sure enough, they end up with Ritchie in the second and Kiviharju later. But I think any time that you can get a guy that at one point was a first round talent and get him outside of the first round, I think that's the best thing teams can do in the draft, because a lot of times your picks outside the first round aren't going to hit, but the ones that do hit are the ones usually that had the upside. And I think that's what we have in Ritchie. Like, obviously he battled the injury, but and we talked a little bit about the playmaking ability, but I don't think you can write off his shot either. He's got a pretty deceptive release, pretty quick release, can make nice plays in tight spaces. He's a guy that likes to shoot on the move, which I think is a really transferable skill to the NHL. Being able to shoot on the move, get to the dirty areas to shoot. And he's also a right shot. Again, something that, the Wild don't have a ton of, and there's always a spot. I think this is a guy that, at some point could work his way into the top 9. How soon that is, but with an injury, hard to say, but I think the upside's there.
He looks so good in the playoffs this year too, even though only 5 games, but still, like he was one of the guys they leaned on for sure.
I mean, plus he played in the WHL, so Isha, you're really low on him.
Bro, I mean, I give him 14, man.
He played well in
literally the lowest on the rankings.
Yeah, what?
I think a couple of years ago he played well in the Link Gretzky Cup too for Team Canada. Had like 9 points in 5 games or something.
Yeah, no, I think he's awesome. I just, he's still young. We'll see how he does this year, and I think everyone above him.
That was just drafted as young? Really?
Only 2 years, Dub. We'll see. All
right, Z, swoon.
Yeah, I had him tail end of the first round. Middle of the year before the injury happened, I had him, I think, around like probably 18, 19, 20. Especially with this draft class, like a top 5 guy in terms of just like how smooth he is, the skill level, the dual threat offensively. Like it is legit elite. Like the give and go game is comical. And again, like Brett, you said, like his ability to get the puck off in motion is a joke. Like again, like that team at the beginning of the year sucked. And it was last year, the Hlinka, he was probably a top 3 player for Canada. Again, the injury did not help him at all this year. He missed like intermittent time too, which was like really threw a wrinkle in his season. But like his upside offensively is easy top 6. And coming into this year, like me and Hoppy talked about it, like, is there any position in this draft class where it's like you'd like to see them bolster as far as like guys with like legit ceilings go? And for me, it's always been like last 2 years or so, it's been like right wing and then anyone in net after Wallstedt. Because like they've got a bunch of guys that play like both wings, or they're a center that probably is going to end up being a winger. But Ryder Ritchie is a through and through sniper of a top 6 right wing, but that gives you that legit dual threat because the playmaking is very fun to watch as well. And he is a prick to play against. Like it was always funny that the fact I did see like the comments about like, oh, he's undersized. I'm like, he is 6'1". He's not just 6 foot. He's 6 foot. He is basically 7'5". And as far as the NHL GMs go, but the ability for him to blend the playmaking with that snipe, like he is so fun to watch. He has legit top 6 upside. And I have like actual confidence that he will hit that. It's gonna be a very big year for him in the WHL. I think as far as like a breakout candidate goes, I don't really know if that counts if he was already rookie of the year 2 years ago. But for me, I think he's going to pop off this year, assuming full health. But the ceiling is super high for a kid like Ryder Ritchie. Even with the injury, again, I kept him in tail end of my first round. If he had stayed healthy, I think he would have, even on that bad team, ripped apart the dub. And would have probably stayed a middle of the first round guy, but I'm a big fan of his. When I first did my rankings, I had him significantly higher than I think I put him at 11. Yeah, 11. There it is. But just given how little hockey he played over the last like year, I went with some of the defensemen ahead of him. But he's one of my favorite guys in this pool now. Like again, the dual threat, how good he is in motion, and how fun he is to watch when he is like angry. He is a great pick. So I was thrilled they got him in the second round. Big fan.
All right. Well, that does it. That rounds out 11 through 15 of Judd'z Budz. Recap: at 11, we had Ryder Ritchie. 12, Caedan Bankier. 13, Rasmus, a.k.a. Jaromir Kumpulainen. 14, Aron Kiviharju. And 15, David Russo Spacek. Tune in next week. We'll be back with 6 through 10.
Top 10, baby.
Get into, the meat.
Almost. We're another.
Jesus. All right. End it.
End it.